So my wife gave me the challenge that if I could do 50 push-ups in a row, she'll buy me a DJI Mavic. And a lot of places I go, it's illegal to fly them there, but there are some areas where you can. So I'm gonna try this. But here's the thing, I can do about 25 right now, gotta get to 50, and push-ups with cats, not easy. What is going on, everyone? So in this week's video, I want to kind of use the DJI drone push-up challenge as a way of talking about motivation. And I've talked about this a little bit in the past, but I received an email a week or so from a person who is basically saying, you know, how is it that one can stay motivated these days when there are so many photographers out there? Because photography is so easy these days. It's not like, you know, the days of film where there's a kind of a little bit of a higher barrier to it, but anyone could be a photographer, anyone could post pictures on social media, anyone could create vlogs or video journals when they're out there field, and it's a very crowded marketplace with a bunch of people all kind of trying to get attention and try to showcase their work. And I think it's a very good question because it is a difficult thing to stay motivated. And I think it's something that, you know, if I look at a lot of these pictures that are posted on social media, it's easy to get almost a little depressed at times thinking, you know, these people are out taking pictures all the time. These people are producing these amazing photos. And, you know, what about me? What about this? What about that? And so I definitely know the feeling. I think it's a very, very good question. I think it's just kind of the fact of life these days with the social media generation and the fact that we can so easily share everything, but also everyone shares only their best work for the most part. And so you just kind of have this constant stream of images. And I think especially for a person that's starting out, it's got to be incredibly intimidating. When I first started doing the video journals and stuff, I mean, social media was around, but it wasn't as big as it is now. And I'll also say that I'm not probably the best, most qualified person to answer this question just because, you know, I'm not doing this full time. I don't, you know, it's something that would be a goal of mine. I'm kind of in the same path that many of you guys are taking as well, trying to find some way to kind of stand out from the crowd. But when it comes to motivation, I think the most important thing is you gotta be really passionate about photography because there's so many other people out there doing, there's so many other people that have a passion for it. If you don't have an absolute passion for landscape photography, I think it would be difficult because it's a lot of work to put into something as far as going out, taking photos, presenting the photos, sharing them, doing the videos, all that. It's a lot of work for something if you don't absolutely love it, if you don't absolutely have a passion for it. So as a little bit of a kind of a story that relates to this, I graduated from college with a degree in graphic design. And at the time, it was kind of the best option of the different degrees and stuff I get. And I did enjoy graphic design. I did a pretty decent job at it. It's actually kind of what my wife now does professionally, and she does a really, really good job at it. I look back at the stuff I did, it just doesn't even look good at all, but it was something I enjoyed. And in many ways, it's very similar to photography because graphic design is a matter of taking all these different elements, organizing it all in a cohesive thing, kind of like finding a composition. So there's some, you know, similarities there, but the other similarity is that when I was graduating with my degree in graphic design, there was a lot of my peers were all trying to figure out ways to get the attention of these various design studios because there was not a lot of jobs to be had. And even the good jobs didn't necessarily pay a heck of a lot. So very similar to landscape photography. Not a lot of jobs out there and the jobs don't pay very well, but at least with photography, it's something that I enjoy, something I have a passion for. And even though I enjoyed graphic design, I didn't have a passion for it because when all my peers were trying to figure out how they're going to get jobs, what steps they're going to do to try to get noticed, I was just kind of thinking, nah, I don't really want to do that. That's just, I don't really have any desire to, you know, take that leap and kind of go in that direction. And so I kind of went down a different path, which has led me to my true passion, which is landscape photography. And I'm confronted with the same thing where it really is a difficult thing to stand out from the crowd. It's a very difficult thing to find a way to make a living at. You gotta be really creative about it. So I think when it comes to motivation, one of the key things is to have the passion for it and pursue it only really if you have that passion for it. Because it's one thing if I'm sitting at home, if I'm editing the videos from a trip, that's quite easy, I gotta say. But when you're actually out there on those trips, when you're out there shooting photos, quite frankly, it could be very miserable. There's times when I'm sitting there and I'm just wishing I was home. But as soon as I get home, magically, I kind of feel like I was out there again. So you gotta be able to put up with the ups and the downs and everything along those lines. But when it comes to social media and all the pictures that are out there, I really don't spend a lot of time looking at the images out there. Because I know that same feeling of seeing all the pictures out there, and there's always that little tinge of jealousy of, oh man, I wish it was me, I wish I was out there, I wish I was producing that level of work that was getting that level of attention. It's easy to get caught up in the trap of social media of wanting to have the likes and all that. For my own work personally, I know that there are many things that I could be doing that would get a lot more attention. But these are things I just don't feel comfortable doing and don't want to do, because to me, it just makes the whole process a whole lot less genuine. I mean, I could produce videos on YouTube that have thumbnails that look like the characters on the front of cereal boxes for kids' cereals, with their the mouths open, crazy expressions and stuff like that, because that stuff gets a lot of attention. The clickbait titles get a lot of attention. But you'll notice I never do any of that, because to me, that's not the kind of attention that I want. And by kind of keeping this kind of a little slower, more mellow, and kind of telling the real stories about going out and shooting photos, the good, the bad, the times when things work, the times when things don't work, I think it's built a more genuine following from you guys that sit through these videos on a weekly basis. So, I mean, I'm probably not the most qualified to say, how is it you stand out from the crowd? Because, I've been at this for a long time. I'm sure I could be at a much higher level if I'd kind of done some of those techniques. But I think a lot of it is kind of a matter of, you just gotta work hard. You gotta have a passion for it. And it's kind of like if you're riding a bike somewhere on like a salt flat out in the middle of nowhere where you're not gonna run into anything, but if you're just pedaling away and constantly staring off at the distance, it's gonna seem like it's gonna take a long time to get to that mountain or whatever it is you're aiming for way off in the distance. But if you just kind of put your head down, you just pedal away, you look up every now and then, you're gonna see that you're making progress, and you're gonna see that you're heading in that right direction. And that's sort of the process that I've had with it. And I've noticed that within the past probably 4 or 5 months in general, I've been more successful at landscape photography and prints and everything else. And I feel like I'm going in the right direction just because I've been kind of ignoring the social media stuff, not paying too much attention to that, but just kind of working hard at it, having the passion for it. So I think that is definitely the key to finding some degree of success and carving some piece of that pie out for yourself in this day when everyone's a photographer and everyone is shooting video. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you around next week.